Spiritual food for thought.
Welcome back to Spiritual Food for Thought. At the moment, we're looking at some of the verses that people use in an attempt to dismiss the fourth commandment, which is the Sabbath. This is stuff that I did not come up with. These are arguments that I've heard or verses that have been cited as apparent proof texts for somebody proving their point. And some of these get kind of strange, some of these get kind of interesting, and just by looking at things, the way I'm going to present them as some food for thought for you guys, I think you will see the absurdity with which some of these claims are made. I didn't come up with this again, but this is what people say. According to Mark chapter 2, verse 27, and he being Jesus, said unto them, the Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath. Now, I completely believe this. I completely believe that the Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath. I get that. I believe that. Okay? But what they will do is, by the Sabbath being made for man and not man for the Sabbath, they say that that's why we don't have anything to do with the Sabbath. The Sabbath was something that was just made for us. We weren't made for it. And I've even had people use this as an attempt to say that the Sabbath was a curse. And there's like three problems we're going to have with this. One is, if you've ever worked 7 days a week, and that's how you spend your life, that's actually more of a curse. I used to work at a job where we worked 13 days on and then 1 day off. And if we wanted to, we could give up one of our days off. So then we would work 13 days on. Rather than having one off, we'd work another one and then work 13 days on. So it was 27 days on, one off. That's not a blessing. Okay, as much as people may enjoy money, to spend your life in such a way is not a blessing. If we think even back to creation, okay, man was made, day 6 of creation. On the seventh day, God made the Sabbath. Okay, man wasn't made for the Sabbath was made for man. But even at that point, it was a blessing. Adam was there in the garden to tend and keep the garden, but the Sabbath was given as a day off. And if you think about Mount Sinai, right, when it became one of the 10 commandments that was handed down on these tables of stone, what we see is that this was after hundreds of years of slavery and bondage. Okay, the Israelites had gone into Egypt during the time of Joseph, and it wound up where, rather than being kind of the highly favored ones of Pharaoh because of Joseph, and oh yeah, sure, invite your family down, give them the best of the land, let's provide food for them, let's give them some place to live, provisions for them, for their animals. It came later that they were not so highly favored by a Pharaoh that had arose, and he turned them into slaves. So if your life is a slave, and you finally get to get out from under that slavery, and get to the point where in essence you're working for yourself, a day off is pretty awesome after spending all that time not having a day off. Now, the one thing that I believe is that this was a blessing that God gave his people in the Sabbath, that to have a weekend, as people do these days, a lot of people have Saturday and Sunday off, and they like that. They look forward to it. It's the very nature of man to long for a day off. This was a blessing when he instituted the Sabbath, and it was something that I believe was a gift for mankind. And if you notice the wording of this, the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. So man was not made for the Sabbath was made for the man. This sounds very familiar, very similar to another verse. Listen to this from 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 9. Neither was the man created for the woman, but the woman for the man. Okay, man wasn't created for the Sabbath. Neither was the man created for the woman. But the Sabbath was created for man, and the woman was created for the man. So if somebody says that man not being created for something, but that thing being created for man means that it's a curse, then they should have that little equation also apply to this. Because man was not made for woman either, but the woman for the man. a lot of people who would use this as a proof text, well, man wasn't created for the Sabbath, also have wives. So they're not being consistent in the way that they use phrases. It's amazing when I saw this, because I'm like, wait a minute. Neither was man created for a woman, but the woman for the man. So even just comparing these two verses and thinking for a second, wait a minute. God gave man woman, now men have wives, because it wasn't good for man to be alone, so God created a helper for him. Okay? Well, man wasn't created for the Sabbath, but the Sabbath for man. God gave him a day off. He gave him a gift. He gave him a day that was holy, a day of rest. Because working your entire life is not the best way to live. This shouldn't be that difficult to understand. It's amazing that people say these things in the first place, and it's even worse that people believe them when they say that. I guarantee you man was not made for the Sabbath, but the Sabbath was made for man. But it was not made as a curse. It was made as a blessing. Obeying our Heavenly Father does not bring curses. It brings blessings. There's a blessing in obedience. There's a curse in disobedience. While man was not made for the Sabbath, neither was man made for the woman. Be blessed.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.